TV's running too, it really builds trust. It's the biggest screen in the home, and people point furniture at it. Like, people aren't pointing furniture at their phones. It's fire and it's television.
It's true.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange, a podcast from IPM Advancement. We believe strong nonprofits can change the world, and at IPM, our job is to make sure your organization is one of them. With each episode, our goal is to bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders from across the nonprofit sector. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello, listeners. I'm Curtis Schmidt, the producer of NPFX and your host today. Russ Faniff really wanted to be here, but he is a man who wears many hats, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. But I promise he will be back wearing his hosting hat very soon. My guest today is Kris Johns, the CEO and founder of the AdGood Foundation, dedicated to transforming unused connected TV advertising inventory into a powerful tool for social change. Welcome, Kris Johns, to the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange.
Thanks for having me on, Curtis.
Yeah, you're welcome. I am super excited about this topic because I don't think we've ever talked in depth about advertising. Now, we're going to get into all the details of CTV and how AdGood can serve nonprofits, but before we do that, I want to set the context for today's conversation. Nonprofits today face unprecedented funding volatility. Fundraising teams report that donor acquisition and retention are at the top of their list of challenges. Around 2/3 cite acquisition especially as a priority. At the same time, the expectations of donors are changing. More and more supporters want proof of impact and professional outreach, not just the same old fundraising appeals. Therefore, nonprofits that rely only on traditional asks or word of mouth may find themselves falling behind in a crowded, competitive market. So, Kris, given all of this context and your own personal experience, what do you see as the most pressing challenge facing nonprofit fundraisers right now, and why is this challenge so critical to address?
I think, from what we see and from what we hear from a lot of the nonprofits that we work with and just the research that we've seen, I believe the biggest challenge is that nonprofits are being asked to do more for people while reaching a smaller and increasingly concentrated pool of donors. Mm-hmm. Like, that is one of the main kind of aspects. Mm-hmm. Also, too, fundraising numbers can sometimes look positive because the total, giving may be increasing, but underneath that top line number, the number of individual donors has continued to decline. So, I think it was in 2025, charitable dollars increased by approximately 5%, I believe. But the number of donors declined by approximately 3.6%. So that means the money is coming in from fewer people, and it really creates this long-term risk for the sector overall.
Yeah, with the Giving USA report that just came out, we saw that, total giving is up. I think it's a record year, and the number of donors is down. And what we've talked about a lot on this podcast is how that forces nonprofits to put a lot of their energy into major gifts, and they stop cultivating those annual fund supporters. Another
piece on that too is that, acquisition is not simply just like a marketing goal, right? It's an organizational sustainability issue. And that's one of the core components. It's building relationships, not to mention the huge wealth transfer, the transfer that's in the works currently right now, right? This is going to happen over the coming years. And, with this wealth transfer, it's very interesting because a lot of that money that's going to the next generation, there's a lot of wealth already existing in that current generation. So that means the opportunity for sustainability for these nonprofits and for social good to actually grow and really lean on the private sector and lean on, individuals and build these relationships is just paramount.
Well, speaking of opportunity, can you spell out what are some of the opportunities that you see for nonprofits right now, specifically when it comes to TV advertising?
Well, right now, I think it's the most important, really, to be able to really get the word out on what they're doing and start building relationships. And even we see it currently right now, the amount of spend that comes to the table in Q4 for nonprofits is so crazy from what we see in Q1, Q2. When the biggest thing I think nonprofits should be focusing on is more evergreen campaigns that reach their audiences and their targeted donors and the people that they're trying to help all year long.
Yeah.
Build those relationships to maximize what you're going to get from them from a donation standpoint monthly, not just one time in Q4, right? Like,
Yeah.
we know that that's the opportune time, but like helping to build those relationships, helping to really be aware, be there all the time so that people want to participate in their cause.
Yeah.
It's just relationship building. Look, this is nothing new, right? Like we're not doing anything different. We're just trying to bring it to all nonprofits, not just the ones that can afford it. Like that's really the goal of AdGood, is to bring affordable access to TV advertising. CTV is mostly our focus because the biggest brands in the world and the biggest nonprofits in the world were built on TV, building trust.
Yeah.
And social channels are great. Paid media channels are great, banners and all the other Google Ad Grant pieces that you're running. All that stuff's great. But there's a trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trust issue in all those aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So people are weary to kind of really transact and do the things that you want them to do on those channels. So you have to hit them a lot and just kind of hope and pray that they kind of get in there. But when you add TV to that mix, and we've seen this, like when TV's running too, it really builds trust. Nothing builds trust. No, there's no media that builds trust as good as TV does.
Yeah.
It's because people sit there, there's co-viewing, you're watching quality content. It's scheduled content. People sit there and watch this. It's the biggest screen in the home, and people point furniture at it. Like people aren't pointing furniture at their phones. They're not pointing furniture at their refrigerators. It's fire. I've said this before. It's fire and it's television.
It's true. It's true.
And so if you want to build trust and you want to be part of that focused, engaged interaction, and you want to be alongside the most premium content that people love, TV is the way to go. This is how you build trust. You use all your other channels for conversion.
Yeah. I want to highlight that thing you said about connecting with your donors, building relationships all year long, because that parallels what we see in direct mail. Organizations spend so much money on their end of the year fundraising when everyone else is doing that too. And then they miss out on the opportunity to communicate with their supporters for the rest of the year when things aren't so noisy.
Yeah.
Kris, why don't we talk a little bit about what exactly is CTV? Because that was a term I hadn't heard before we started talking about doing this interview. And where does AdGood fit into that space?
Yeah. So, connected TV or CTV is simply just television, right? It's content delivered through an internet connected device.
Okay.
That we're talking about mostly smart televisions. All of our inventory includes mostly smart televisions. That's it. We do have other inventory, like we have access to, like Samsung smart fridges and their mobile application.
Oh, wow.
But this is all new to us. We're still just kind of testing it out right now.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't opened that up to too many nonprofits just yet. But overall, TV viewership has shifted to streaming. Like I think it's at the point now where it's just surpassing kind of where viewership is. So broadcast is still very strong in the market, but the trajectory is very clear that streaming is going to be taking over all viewership for TV. I think it's over in the next 2 years, is pretty much what they're forecasting.
Wow.
So when we talk about what is CTV, think about the best aspects of digital and the glorious nature of the most premium media that's ever existed for us as a whole, or any advertiser, being television, like broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
You put those two together, that's what CTV is.
Okay.
So it's the engagement and it's all the amazing targeting and different levels of attribution and lift that exists in CTV, but specifically focusing on the targeting right now, it's all the great targeting. So you're able to target audiences, geo all the way down to the zip code. Like for some small nonprofits, we run in just like a tight group of zip codes.
Okay.
We also do a lot of interesting stuff with nonprofits trying to kind of save money on targeting, because a lot of this targeting adds additional CPMs or costs because of the fact that it's third party.
Yeah.
And so we work with some nonprofits that are kind of pinched on budget on things, and they're trying to target like certain income levels across certain states. So we'll do kind of census research from the census data and pull what we can from certain zip codes based on income level that's kind of defined in those areas. And we've seen good success for a lot of these campaigns, actually, just kind of being creative in how we can target what we can do from a geo standpoint. So when you think about CTV and its power, it's like you're able to really hit the people you want in the most premium experience ever. So it's actually a very powerful tool.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us what AdGood does specifically for your nonprofit clients?
Yeah. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We work with major partners, publishing partners, both streaming platforms and the actual publishers themselves, so the content owners, and they donate inventory to the Ad Good Foundation. We then obviously have our own technology stack that we've put together through partnerships and a little tech of our own. We have our own data platform as well. And we offer that inventory only to nonprofits. And we give it to them at an extremely low rate.
Okay.
We're charging rates like 70% below market rate in most cases.
Wow.
And we make it so that we can connect pretty much in any way, shape, or form they would need. If they have an agency, or a media team within that's internal, we're able to set up deal IDs to any trading desk or demand side platform that exists out there. We're partnered with pretty much all of them, so we can run that media programmatically. Or we do managed service where we handle everything. A nonprofit and or agency or anybody can come to us and say, hey, here's our ad. This is the targeting that we want, or give us an RFP, and we respond. And, we put together the media plan for them. They send us to creative. We send them an IO or insertion order. And essentially we fight the creative and we run the campaign. And then we give them all the, great weekly reporting that's probably a little bit more robust than they're used to be honest.
How much of what you do is sort of like a consulting? Like if a nonprofit came to you and they're like, we've never done this before, we have no idea what to do, can you offer advice and create a campaign for them?
Yeah. We definitely do. And we do have some materials on that stuff that we pass along. But like if they don't have an ad, obviously we can always kind of buff them out to our self-serve Gen AI ad manager that can actually create an ad for them. And they can do their full kind of media experience right there where they're able to run an ad. Or we'll kick them out to one of our agency partners. They've kind of set up good rates for the people that we kick to them. And, we do the intros and kind of help them. And then when their ad's done, we run the media. So we definitely we're trying to build like an ecosystem of kind of safe and good people and good companies doing good things. So that they're kind of covered across the board.
Yeah.
We try, even with all of our technology partners that we work with in the ad tech space, to negotiate the best rates possible so that if we have to pass any cost onto the nonprofits, it's the lowest cost that they could ever get.
Okay.
And we do that because we're kind of like a one-to-many for them. So a lot of the ad tech platforms are like, okay, this is great. We can do social good with you at a massive scale. And then we're able to offer that special rate to pretty much all of our partners. And we never add additional cost to that. That's just a direct pass through.
Yeah.
So that they can benefit from that.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to just reiterate that AdGood is a nonprofit and the ad space is being donated to you. And that's why you can provide the savings.
Yeah, our goal isn't to raise prices or make our inventory more expensive. Actually, it's the opposite. Our mission is to figure out any angles that we can to reduce costs. And we regularly do that. We don't ever foresee AdGood to be, hundreds of employees. That's not our goal. Our goal is to be as automated as possible and to generate as much impact as possible for the nonprofits. So that means the lowest cost, the highest amount of data, the most amount of technology that's the most innovative so that they can truly, get the dollars they need to continue the great work they do.
Awesome. How about some examples of some nonprofits that you've worked with and what they were able to achieve?
One of the ones that we've worked with that have done really well, they've used our ad manager, and that was the Charles Dickinson Music Enrichment Center. They've been with us since the beginning, and it's very interesting because they essentially overall have had like over, a 230% increase in attendance to their events. And then an over 400% increase in donations. And you have to note, like they run in like 3 counties and they started running ads at like $250 a month.
Wow.
And so towards the end of the year, I think they were running like close to like 800, something like that. And it's like to watch them grow because, this is all self-serve. So this is somebody that's never done anything in media. Charles is fantastic. He runs this organization. I'm actually speaking with him at Bridge at the end of the month, the big like nonprofit marketing conference.
Yep.
And kind of talking about this because, there's 1.9 million nonprofits out there. And we're not just trying to help the ones with huge budgets. Like we want to help all of them.
Yeah.
And so that's why we have the ad manager. And it's a very powerful tool. So he's able to go into that tool. He's able to put the URL to his website in. It generates a 30-second video ad for him. He then can go in and edit it, change the voiceover, the music, update logos, put in his own content. He can put in, stock imagery and turn it into B-roll with the Google VEO3 integration, where you can buy credits and right there within the storyboarding functionality within the tool, be able to kind of edit that stuff. And then essentially you put the targeting in, the counties he's hitting, and then swipe a credit card. And, we essentially approve it to make sure it looks good. And his targeting's not like national for $250.
Yeah.
And then he was able to run this. And so he's been doing this regularly, since almost like a month after we launched the ad manager. I talk to him a lot, we talk quite often throughout the year, and, seeing his growth and his success and, seeing his nonprofit organization grow and get the impact that he needs from it.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of events, like music events, and, because it's a small music school in Galveston, Texas, and most of the music programs were ripped out of the school. So he's got all these educational pieces for kids to go there and get trained on music. And so it's just such a perfect marriage for what we want to do and what we want to achieve.
Yeah, it sounds like the cost of entry is real low. So if an organization wanted to test this, if they had no idea if this was even right for them, it would be pretty easy for them to test this out.
Yeah, I mean, yes, 100%. I mean, we've worked with, YMCAs. One of the YMCAs saw like a 300%, increase in return on ad spend. So, the one thing you do want to do with TV, though, is make sure you're running for a minimum of 3 months.
Okay.
You want to get the impact for your dollars. Like if you're coming in, you're going to spend $200 and you're going to run it for like 2 weeks or a month. So, maybe social's better for you.
Right.
We're not interested in just taking money from nonprofits. It's not our interest. Our interest is to help you grow. And so essentially going in there, thinking about these campaigns in a longer sense, it's really powerful. We also work with, the Family and Children's Agency. They're based out of Connecticut, Fairfield County. And on average, they're running with us on a pretty good cadence and have been for about 6 months, I believe now. And they've seen the 45% average increase in website traffic. So a good 45% lift. And a lot of their direct traffic has gone up incredibly as well. So we see the numbers. It's there, right? Like things are growing. It works. It works at a small scale, and we know it works on a big scale, right? Because we get the massive organizations that you could probably assume we do work with, and they do run with us. And, they love us for price point and for other aspects too, because our inventory is so premium and it's easy for them to get with us.
You mentioned social. I wanted to ask you if, for whatever reason, a nonprofit was like, we're not ready to get into CTV just yet. Should they, at a minimum, be doing some kind of like video, like at the very least, just to learn like what their audiences respond to and what they don't respond to? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, social is great. I mean, it's such a good opportunity for them to interact with their audience and, go back and forth. Videos, I think, proven for many years to be one of the best mediums to be able to kind of talk about your story. I mean, it's huge for nonprofits. The best, if you can get that emotion in there, you want to be able to tell your story. You want to be able to talk about your cause, talk about your impact, talk about, how and what you need to increase what you're doing. And video allows you to really put the emotion out there because it's human, right? Like there's humanity to it.
Yeah. Is it okay if the video is like lo-fi, like if it's just shot on like an iPhone or something like that?
I mean, iPhones these days aren't that lo-fi.
That's true.
Could you think about it a little bit before you do it? Sure.
Right.
I think that goes with creators too. Like when you look at YouTube creators, I think, they start out and things are rough, but the better they get, the more it becomes like a bigger business, the production quality goes up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nature of where you're at kind of shows the rawness of who you are. Right?
Yeah.
So you want to have some professionality to it, and you want to have some sort of major talking points that you hit, and you want to talk to your audience in the right way, because you have to realize you're trying to get people to be believers in what you're doing. So you want to be authentic.
Right. What's a hard truth that you think nonprofit leaders and fundraisers need to face if they want to connect better with their supporters, and especially in this current funding landscape?
Yeah, I think it's just really this idea of being worthy of attention, right? And how that doesn't really guarantee that you're going to receive attention. I think there's this interesting aspect where nonprofit leaders understand if we really just believe in their missions, but their prospective supporters do not wake up early understanding that organization, the need, or why that particular situation, particular solution or what they're doing deserves their specific involvement.
Right.
And it's realizing that you got to really simplify what you're doing and understand that most of the people you're talking to don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And getting the word out there of what you're doing because it's amazing. Like, that's the beauty of it. Like, you're not selling shoes.
Right.
You don't have to convince people that hard. As long as you can really talk about and be authentic and clearly articulate the impact of what you're doing and the problems that exist. And having those impactful kind of human interest pieces, right? Where, that's the stuff that resonates with people because they can relate to it. So having a story about like an individual that was helped and what you did, rather than like, oh, we've helped over 10 million people, blah, 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 blah. Like, those are great numbers, but tell a story about a person and how you guys impacted and changed their lives.
Yeah. We have a series on strategic storytelling from one of our hosts, Josh Grenowitz, and he talks about this relationship between stories and data, and how when you're in the work, in the trenches, it seems like data is the most convincing. Like, if I can just get people to see the data, they'll understand and want to support the work. But data doesn't move people like a powerful story does.
It's not that the data is bad, kind of like what you're saying. It is powerful, but like, tell it in a small way.
Right.
Then talk about the scale. Then talk about having people come on board to help you to grow even more.
Yeah. What can nonprofits learn from advertisers to help how they think about the relationship building we were talking about earlier?
I think it's like thinking about these things as more evergreen. The importance of looking about how does a brand, continue to try to get loyalty and resonance.
Okay.
It's the same thing with donors.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you continue that connection? It's a lot more heartfelt and I think a lot more impactful. So I think conversion can be much higher for you. I don't think it's a hard thing for somebody to kind of look and be like, God, I could buy this Coke or I could give to this cause and help like these 3 kids.
Yeah.
I think it's not a hard thing for any person to kind of make that decision. I think looking at advertising as a whole and understanding your channels, and really it's like a lot of it's going to be on like the data piece. Like, brands are heavily measuring things in all kinds of different ways. And that's what we're trying to bring to the table for the nonprofits.
Yeah.
So we're bringing that Fortune 500 level, measurement. We have attribution, we have lift studies, and we have all this great stuff that nonprofits can tap into at a fraction of the cost.
In another life, I got really into direct marketing, like Nordic Track. I'm giving away my age here a little bit.
I remember.
But Nordic Track was a case study because every commercial they ran had a different phone extension, so they could track exactly where sales were coming from.
And we see that too. We do run campaigns for some large organizations that do utilize the phone number that's unique to the ad. They do like, custom QR codes that are trackable that they link to the site. But the thing with TV is like, you're not really showing the full lift and impact there because it's affecting your social. It's affecting all your other paid media. It's affecting the traffic to your website. Like, it's affecting general organic search. Like, all that stuff's affected. And so that's where our attribution comes into play to really show the core overall lift.
Yeah.
So you can see the impact, because everybody knows it's a lot more than what they're tracking in those scenarios. It's just, they just want to bucket it and assume it's clickable. And it's not a clickable ad. It's like when you drive past a billboard, like, how are you measuring attribution on that? At least with CTV, there is measurement that you can track.
Well, let's maybe talk a little bit more about that, because I can imagine somebody who's excited to get into this and they're thinking about, they've got to go to their board and they've got to say, hey, we need to put some money into this. How do you justify, I guess I'm talking about ROI. Like, how do you demonstrate ROI to justify putting money for CTV advertising into the budget?
I mean, it's the same way that you're organizing your social, right? Because you're doing paid social too. And realistically, our CPMs are lower, if not the same, much lower than what they're paying for social ads.
Okay.
So you're getting TV with that.
Yeah.
And so the power really comes to play when you get social running and you get CTV running. And the power of those two, because then you're building trust and then you're getting conversions.
And as far as we know, bots aren't yet watching television. So you're reaching actual people versus social media, which I think I read can be up to 15% bots.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, there's more than one person in the room.
Yeah, that's true too. Kris, if you could give our listeners one piece of lasting advice about acquisition or relationship building or fundraising strategy, what would that be?
I would say is stop asking each marketing channel to complete the entire fundraising journey by itself. So don't have like your email be this knight fighting by itself, running up this huge hill to like save the day. You got to look at everything together.
Yeah.
You got to look at lift across the board, look at all your channels and understand the impact that each of these separate channels has on each other. And then look at the bigger picture for what this glorified funnel looks like for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the one huge key piece of effect that you could have. Because you could be running, a CTV campaign, and all of a sudden you're realizing like, God, I'm getting way more email opens. This is amazing.
Right.
And they're like, God, let's put more money into email. And it's like, no, you should have put more money in CTV. Or it's like social picks up.
Yeah.
You got to look at all these pictures and understand the ecosystem that's occurring across your marketing channels and really look at things to see where this could come from. And sometimes it's not going to be as obvious as you think. And there's going to be assumptions in those areas. And so when you get assumptions that are hard to track, like put more dollars in some of those other areas and see if that impact continues, see what that engagement continues. And that's the big thing that I would recommend.
Yes, 100% agree. One of IPM's cornerstone strategies with our nonprofit clients is exactly that, to build integrated fundraising campaigns where all of the channels are working together.
Yeah. And like when you're thinking about your marketing, just really think about establishing credibility that really travels across television and social and search and email and direct mail.
Yeah.
So everybody knows like no matter where they're living in your channel, they know it's you and they can trust you.
With respect to trust and credibility, I wanted to ask you about AI, because I know that you've mentioned it already that clients can use generative AI to create the content for the ads that they're going to run. Now, I don't have any actual data from donors that say that younger donors are pushing back against AI. But there seems to be in my own life a lot of anecdotal data. Like my two nieces who are in their young 20s, the minute they identify something as AI, they turn off. They don't engage with it. And I'm hearing that from other young people. I'm just super curious. Like, what have you seen? What does the data show in terms of how do people respond to generative AI advertising?
Honestly, the nature of the way that our ad manager creates stuff, it's a little bit lighter touch than some of the kind of heavier handed kind of AI stuff that you see out there.
Okay.
Obviously, VEO has gotten to be so good, but it's never going to be as good as, at least currently right now, as if like an agency went and made this big, beautiful ad that's like award winning, right? Like it's just going to be, this ads are just going to be good.
Right.
And you're just not going to compete with that on that same level. Will it be good? Yes. And when you think, the key to really think about it is like, you're a small nonprofit, you're spending $250 a month, you don't have an ad. To be honest, without this tool, they're not going to have an ad.
Yeah.
So if they're able to kind of get their message out and make it clear, it really works for them. And like, you have to think like, this is the case that I talked about earlier about the music school in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Same element. Like, how would he have gotten growth without this? And so it still resonates. It still does its job. It still works great. And it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I understand both sides and I get it 100%. We're not saying these ads are better than agencies. We're selling this in this organization because we're trying to accommodate nonprofits of all sizes. If we wanted to just only pick like the mid to kind of massive nonprofits, like we could. That's all we want to do. Like we want to really level the playing field for all of them so that everybody can grow and really turn marketing from a cost center to a profit center. Yeah. That's what we're going after.
This has been super informative. Thank you. Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you want to share with our listeners?
It's just the big factor of that we want to sell is the fact that we're a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We're a nonprofit building a platform for nonprofits. And we're not just discounted media. We're building a media platform that's going to be here long after we're all gone. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. Like, that's our real deep mission of what this is. Mm. So buying media through us is just supporting your future in media as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Because it's just a matter of time until we get to everybody. But, we've been around a year and a half, and we've already hit 4.5 billion available impressions a month across major platforms. We work with, 450 plus nonprofits, both direct and indirectly. We've scaled a lot in a year and a half, and we want more people accessing our inventory, more nonprofits. And that's really it. It's just us getting the word out on our program so that people know that there's a chance for them to be on TV now that they never had before.
Kris, what gives you hope about the future of fundraising and philanthropy, especially in the context of what we've talked about today?
I think overall, what gives me hope is the fact that I think a lot of people, being in this space and being new kind of in the nonprofit space, the amount of amazing people that I've come across and just the conversations I've had with friends and colleagues and industry people that I know about how much they care about it as well. And how, even though things are so crazy with technology right now and how everybody's really kind of focused in their little worlds, that I see a huge shift in philanthropy coming. I really do. I mean, I just feel like there's been such a focus on growth and struggle and all these other things that I think the humanity in all of us is going to be coming to the forefront very soon. And I think it already has taken that turn. And I think, things like this wealth transfer and like the younger generations coming into play, they've already proven that they love brands a lot more when they're tied to a cause. This is just an amazing generation of people coming to the table. I truly believe that the philanthropy aspect of things will follow very soon.
If listeners wanted to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can go to adgood.org or feel free to DM me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat with anybody. And then also, too, you can also reach us at info@adgood.org. We got a good-sized team over here. It's not huge, but we definitely handle a lot. So we'd be happy to talk to anybody, answer any questions. You can also visit the ad manager. Anybody can go into the ad manager and start generating an ad. The only time you have to pay to do anything is if you're actually going to run your media and you swipe a credit card.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So anybody can go into our ad manager. You can access it through our website. It's in the global navigation. It says ad manager. Just click that and you're in the ad manager, and you can actually go and create an ad, share it with people.
Awesome.
Go through the process, get something out there that you love, and then, let's run a test campaign.
And I'll make sure that link is in the show notes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, Kris Johns, founder and CEO of AdGood, thank you so much for joining me today. And thanks to you, NPFX listeners, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange. That concludes this episode of the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange. If you'd like to learn more about any of today's guests or resources, we'll include links in the show notes. If you like our podcast, please help spread the word. First, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite app so you always know when a new episode is released. Second, forward episodes you like to friends and colleagues or post them on social media. Word of mouth is one of the best ways you can help share these conversations with more nonprofit professionals like yourself. And if you use Apple Podcasts or Audible, please leave us a review. Positive reviews are how many listeners find us, and they also help us understand what you like most about NPFX. Finally, we'd love to hear your suggestions. If there's a challenge you're facing, a question you have, or a voice you think the nonprofit sector needs to hear, send an email with the subject heading NPFX suggestion to contact@ipmadvancement.com. The Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange is just that, an exchange, and we're grateful that you're part of it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.